Samson was the last of the judges of Israel. Samson was unpredictable and undependable because he was a double-minded man. In James 1 verse 8 it says, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." The only thing you could depend on Samson for was he was undependable. Samson was bold before men, but weak before women, and couldn't resist telling them his secrets. Samson was empowered by the Spirit of God, yet he yielded his body to the appetite of flesh. Samson was called to declare war on the Philistines, yet he fraternized with the enemy and even tried to marry a Philistine woman. He fought the Lord's battles by day and disobeyed the Lord's commandments by night. The name Samson means sunny. He ended up in darkness, blinded by the enemy he was supposed to conquer. Samson may have had many faults, yet he gets a mention in the Hebrews Hall of Fame and is known as the comeback king. He failed big time, yet God still heard his cry and honoured him in death. Our gifts and abilities do not make up for our lack of character. We can't just say, oh, like Samson, I know he loves the women, but he's still a great man. He fights for us, and he does this and he does that. You know, yes, he was a great man, he was a great warrior, but that does not, make up for his lack of character. Your character means something, and your character should always proclaim God and him who called you. So, who were the Philistines who were winning against the children of Israel? They were seafaring people. They controlled the harbour, ports and river mouths, which made them very rich. They became rich through that, because if they're controlling that, they were controlling what was coming in. They could charge, people for importing or exporting. They also found iron before the Israelites, and they learnt how to smelt it first. And iron was more superior than bronze. So when the Bronze Age turned into the Iron Age, the Philistines had an advantage and were on top. Iron swords smashed bronze swords, and that was kind of why the Philistines were overpowering the children of Israel. Samson started the war against the Philistines that later was fought by both Saul and David. Samson was born to Manoah and his wife. We never find out what his wife's name is, which is the way in the Bible by what the looks of it. But Manoah's wife was barren, so straight off Samson was a miracle. An angel appeared to Manoah's wife and told her, "You will conceive and have a son. No razor was to cut his hair, and he would be a Nazarite to God from the womb, and would deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines." The word Nazarite means to separate. A man or woman could be a Nazarite. They weren't allowed to drink wine or other fermented drink, or vinegar made from wine, or other fermented drink, or grapes. They weren't allowed to eat grapes or raisins. They weren't allowed to have anything from the grapevine. They weren't allowed to cut their hair during the period of dedication. They weren't allowed to touch a dead body during the period of dedication, even if it were family. If they were in the presence of someone and they suddenly died, they were defiled because that person suddenly died, and they would have to shave their hair on the 7th day of their cleansing, and on the 8th day bring 2 doves or pigeons to the priest at the tent of meeting to sacrifice them, one for sin offering, one for a burnt offering, to atone for the sin of being in the presence of a dead body. Then their hair was consecrated again, and they rededicated their lives, their hair, their time, and then from then they were not allowed to cut their hair. They now bring an old male lamb. No, they bring a male lamb as a guilt offering, but whenever they took their hair, shaved their hair off, they had to set fire to it. They had to put it into the flames, and it was to atone them. When their period of dedication is over, they bring a year-old male lamb for burnt offering, a year-old ewe for sin offering, and a ram for fellowship, along with a grain offering, a basket of bread cooked without yeast but with olive oil, thick and thin bread. Once the offerings were made, the head was shaved again and the hair was placed in the fire. The priest then placed the shoulder of a ram in your hands with thick and thin bread and wave them as a wave offering. And after that, your time as a Nazarite is over and you're allowed to drink wine again. So what is the purpose of a Nazarite vow? The vow was a commitment to consecrated holiness, a desire to please God, and publicly declare God more important than worldly things or even family. So the key aspects of a Nazarite vow were that it was a voluntary dedication. You were separated from the world, self-denial, no drink, no haircuts, and avoid dead people. And your symbol of dedication was your uncut hair, was your long hair. And then at the end you bring your sacrifice and your offerings. And the duration of a Nazarite vow was also voluntary. You could have a set time, 30 days, 60 days, or 100 days. Or there was a lifetime vow, which was for life. In the Bible, we have 3 lifetime Nazarites. Samson, who was a Nazarite from birth, Samuel, and John the Baptist. And in Acts 18, there is a story of Paul taking the Nazarite vow with a group of men, and I think he was trying to appease the Jews, because there was the whole row between circumcision and non-circumcision of the Gentiles then. So the elements of a Nazarite vow could still apply to our walking with God or walking with Jesus. Our commitment to God is up to us. We need to be separate from the world. We sometimes need to say no to stuff that takes us down the wrong path. Our testimony is our sign of our dedication, so we should protect our testimony. To be in His will, we need to sacrifice things and offer up other things.